It looks like there's a highway directly to the property.
Yeah, it's crazy actually. It's the Trans-Canada Highway. This occurrence of cesium is about 400 meters off the highway. And we're about an hour and a half, 100 kilometers by road to the Tanco cesium chemical plant there.
Welcome back to Rockstock Channel. It is Tuesday, November 11th, and we are back with another installment in our Getting to Know You series. Today, we have Robin Dunbar and Austin Devaney of Grid Metals, who will focus principally on their Donner cesium and lithium property in Manitoba, Canada. I have Rodney and Matt here with me to dig in with questions and would like to remind our viewers that Rockstock Channel was among the first to talk about minor metal cesium last year, with our great success with Power Metals, for which Winsome Resources is the largest shareholder. Since then, PMET Resources have talked up their cesium discovery, and we believe that what you'll hear today from Grid is worthy of your consideration. We'll also discuss some of their other projects, in particular the Makwa nickel-copper-PGM and cobalt project, which is subject to an option and JV agreement with Teck Resources. For disclosure purposes, RK Equity is not, at present, a strategic advisor to, nor invested in Grid. And of course, we are not financial advisors, and nothing in this video should be considered investment advice. Please do your own research and read the disclaimer at the end of this video. Note that a written summary of this interview will be published in the next edition of RK Equity's Lithium-Ion Bull. Please register your email at rkequity.com if you'd like to receive this newsletter directly to your email box. Grid trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, ticker symbol GRDM.V. The company just raised $4 million Canadian in equity at 12 cents and is currently trading around 12.5 cents with a market cap of 25 million Canadian dollars. Before getting into the interview, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Lithium Royalty Corp and USCF Investments. Lithium Royalty Corp is traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange, ticker symbol LIRC, and holds more than 30 royalties on hard rock and brine lithium projects such as Core Lithium in Australia, Sigma Lithium in Brazil, and Tre Q and Mariana projects owned by Zijin and Ganfeng in Argentina. USCF Investments is a pioneer in commodity ETFs for nearly 20 years. Their 15 funds include single commodity exposure, broad diversification with STCI, and themes like ZSB for battery metals and USG for gold with income. To find out more, watch our inaugural episode with their CEO, John Love, and visit uscfinvestments.com. And with that intro out of the way, welcome Robin and Austin for the first time to Rockstock Channel. Please start by telling us both about your backgrounds and how you got involved with Grid, and then Matt and Rodney will lead with the questioning.
Sure, thanks, Howard. Maybe I'll kick it off. My name's Robin Dunbar. I'm based in Toronto, the CEO and president of Grid Metals. And I've been in the junior exploration business for over 25 years. I've been on the board of several international companies, most recently McEwen Mining in the gold sector. And I've been with Grid for over 20 years now that we've been working on various projects. And for the last number of years in Manitoba, where we're concentrating in southeast Manitoba. So we've gotten two projects to the drill stage, and we think it's a really exciting time ahead for the company.
Hey, good morning, guys. So my name's Austin Devaney. I've been helping Grid out for about 6 or 8 months. We came together because I've pointed out in a number of conversations with people my experience in the alkaline earth metals industries. Of my 37-year career, 34 of them have been in the alkaline earth metals. For those of you who are not familiar with what that is, that's the second to the left column in the periodic table. So that is in order: lithium, sodium, potassium, cesium, rubidium, thorium, and a handful of other elements. And so I had the opportunity to run the cesium business with Albemarle in 2014 to about 2019. Had a lot of involvement in the cesium business through that time, and came together with the Grid guys kind of to help them understand the market and give them some insights into what is a relatively niche market in the metals industry.
And importantly, Austin, we got to know each other because you joined Piedmont Lithium after Albemarle and were instrumental in helping them get that original offtake agreement with Tesla, as I recall fondly, having gotten to know you over the years. So good to see you, Austin. Can't believe it's the first time you're here with us on Rockstock Channel, but I'll leave it to Matt to dig in.
Thanks, Austin. Good to see you again. So we've known each other for a while as well. We've never talked about cesium though. So looking forward to sort of picking your brains on cesium. And I guess maybe if we could start at the beginning, talking about cesium. So how is cesium mined? Is it a primary product? Is it a byproduct generally? What is the mineral? What are the minerals for cesium mining, and how does the industry work? How when it's mined, does it then run through the processing, and what are the main primary selling products?
Sure. Robin can probably share some of that, but I'll give you my insights, and Robin, feel free to jump in there. But historically, the ore that cesium is derived from is pollucite, Pollucite. That ore is been found in Africa and in Canada. Those have really been the two places that it's been mined. There are a couple other places around the world where pollucite ores. That ore is concentrated like a lot of other hard rock mines, and then converted into a salt, converted from cesium ore and then into cesium carbonate and cesium hydroxide. Those are the two building block chemicals that a lot of other cesium compounds come from. Robin?
Yeah, and from an exploration and looking forward to the mining scenario, you're dealing with a very in pollucite with cesium content of up to 40%, very, very high value material, extremely rare, but actually quite easy to process. The technology around is to take the rock out, crush it, and ore sort it using XRF sorting, and that's been widely used now. So it's a very simple, low capital approach to mining for a very high value product.
And I'm assuming it's not really a primary mineral in most mines. It's a byproduct.
Yeah, it's a primary. The pollucite is a primary source, but it's normally found in lithium pegmatites. But it's if you come across it, you mine it discreetly, and it's separated out. But it's so rare generally that it's almost always a byproduct. And there's only been a handful of cesium projects that have ever been mined historically. So very, very small market. Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about sort of the demand markets for cesium? So what's changed in the industry? Why is demand sort of starting to take off? What's driving that?
Yeah, Matt, that's a great question. I mean, the cesium business is relatively in the world of fine chemicals, relatively immature. It has not been widely marketed over 50 or 100 years. Really, the cesium market story is probably closer to 40 years and has had good growth rates because of the applications. Probably the largest application for cesium compounds today is the cesium formate market. It's used in well drilling. A lot of that was an outflow of shale gas and shale oil drilling, where the high density of the material allows it to settle down in the bottom of a well and provide the properties of lubrication and cooling that are needed there. In that section, not all of the cesium formate is consumed. It gets recycled. So there's a makeup piece there that is the notably largest application for cesium salts. After that, you have catalyst in the acrylic and plastics industry, scintillation, which is always a word I like to say, the X-ray market. Cesium is used as a accelerator in the ion photography side of that portion. One of the neat applications, which kind of comes up, it's very cyclical, is defense. And in defense, it's used in night vision goggles, which is kind of an interesting. They shoot a flare up that has cesium in the flare. It lights up the battlefield, and with the appropriate goggles, you can see like daylight out on the field. But there's a lot of really small uses. Formate is the largest.
Okay, that's great. And what is the sort of fastest growing uses at the moment?
The two that I would point to are the scintillation market, the X-ray market. That's grown. The photovoltaic catalyst and solar applications, using a cesium glaze on the glass improves the efficiency of those photovoltaic cells. So that's a new and growing market as well, and potentially could take off and consume a considerable amount of cesium salts. I probably should give you an idea of what a considerable amount is. The total market today is just under 3,000 tons on a cesium contained basis. The photovoltaic market is a couple hundred tons at most, but you could see it growing to be a 20 or 30% share of the business. When you add that into Formate and others, it becomes a considerable amount.
Okay. And given what you've just said, I assume that there are not sort of any sort of single companies that dominate sort of production of cesium.
Dominate production of cesium.
Well, I guess
thought you were
where
going to say
cesium,
consumption. So
production, where cesium is sort of like a pure play product for them or a major contributor to their earnings.
No, I don't think there's anyone that cesium is a major contributor to their earnings. So no, there's not a pure play cesium producer, to my knowledge.
Okay.
But the global supply demand is the supply is controlled by two companies.
Yeah.
One is it's Sinomine, who control about 85% of the world market, and some of that production comes here in Canada, about an hour away from our Falcon West project, and it's interesting that we see pretty solid interest from the industry in potential new sources of pollucite ore in particular. So it seems to be a market that there's a lot of interest in new supply coming on, and there's just, as I said before, there's not a lot of projects. So, and one other point is the U.S. just designated cesium as a critical metal a couple of weeks ago. So that is new. Same with Canada, just designated cesium as a critical metal. So there you have, the story of very strategic metal in some respects, small metal, but the majority of the world market is controlled by China. So domestic sources in North America, I'll include Canada with the U.S. there, I think are very important going forward.
Okay. And if I'm an investor sort of looking at a number of sort of cesium projects with resources in the ground, what should I be looking at as a good resource? What's a good sort of size and grade combination in a cesium project?
Well, right now there's two that you can choose from. That tells you. And I always compare it to, like, people talk a lot about rare earths, and if you actually look around, there's a lot of rare earth deposits. And in cesium, there's literally two companies right now that have resources in the development stage. One is PMET. That's quite a large resource. It's in northern Quebec. Very robust grade. I think the big question there is the timing on the development of that project, which appears to be being developed in conjunction with the lithium deposit there. Definitely a world class. I don't know the timing on that. You hear anything from 5 to 10 years, And then Power Metals, who Howard mentioned earlier, they have a resource in Ontario, the Case Lake project, and that's, I believe, about 13,000 tons at about 2.5% cesium oxide in the resource. So those are the two. So I think the resources can be valuable even if they're small. And so I think we would obviously want to have as large a resource as possible. But anything from Power Metals on up, I think would be a significant addition to the world inventory.
Okay, that's cool. And then I guess the final question is just on prices. What are prices doing at the moment? What's the sort of momentum look like?
Yeah, so if you think about where prices have come, it really has gone along with the evolution of the market and the fact that supply has been curtailed, and so you've seen prices almost fivefold over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, and a lot of that's driven just by those two factors. You've had demand growing across applications, and you've had limited or no supply in the amount of pollucite that's coming into the market. And I think Robin touched on the point that you only have really two producers of the salts that are sold out in the marketplace, and that limited supply of those has driven the pricing up.
Okay, cool. Brilliant. I'll pass over to Rodney for some company-specific questions.
Before Rodney digs in with some further questions, I'd like to thank our sponsor, USCF Investments, who have been making it easier to get exposure to commodities investments for almost 20 years. USCF's Sustainable Battery Metals Fund, ZSB, is designed to capture investment exposure to metals powering electrification, such as lithium, cobalt, copper, nickel, aluminum, and silver. To learn more, watch our inaugural episode with CEO John Love and visit uscfinvestments.com. And thanks as well to Lithium Royalty Corp, which just published their Q3 results, which demonstrated 86% growth in revenue from last year's third quarter, which included first royalty payment from their 3Q project operated by Cesium Mining in Argentina. To read that press release, visit their website, lithiumroyaltycorp.com, and follow them on X at lithium_royalty.
Okay, great. So, Robin, you have recently secured $4 million financing at 12 cents, which is a good price relative to previous levels from a new strategic investor and an existing institutional investor plus flow through. Will this funding largely be used for exploration at the Falcon West Cesium deposit?
Yeah, it will be. We're starting off with the current program is going to be about $1 million on the drill program, and then we're going to assess the results and go from there.
Right. And you received a drill permit for Falcon West in September. How many meters will you drill, and to what depths does the pegmatite sit?
So we're looking at approximately 3,000 meters in the first phase, which will be north of 40 holes, probably closer to 60. The pegmatite that we're targeting is very close to surface, comes within 10 meters of surface in places. So a lot of the holes that were planned are going to be maybe 40 meters in depth. So that's kind of a unique situation for a high value commodity.
And you've had some historic success drilling in the area. Can you just elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, when we first acquired the Falcon West property, we were more focused on lithium in the area. We had noted a few intercepts of cesium. This was several years ago. We didn't fully appreciate the potential value of cesium. And then we did a follow-up drill program last year, and we had 2 or 3 interesting intercepts, one quite high grade, and so that gave us the impetus to say, we have the potential here for a standalone cesium project, and our geological understanding has increased. So we're targeting a specific pegmatite that appears to host cesium, not in every hole, but we think it's like most deposits in cesium, it's going to be hit and miss, but drill a lot of holes, kind of like high grade gold. You try to drill off an area and take the average. So that's the program we're doing now. Relatively small area, about maybe 150 meters in strike length, 30 to 40 meters wide to start. Relatively close space holes to see really understand what the distribution of polysite is in that pegmatite.
And it looks like there's a highway from Winnipeg to pretty much directly to the property. How good is the infrastructure near the project?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, actually. It's the Trans-Canada Highway, so the major highway east-west in Canada. This occurrence of cesium is about 400 meters off the highway. So there's a gravel road that goes in. So, pretty incredible infrastructure. So there's power, and it's a fantastic setup. We're about maybe an hour and a half, 100 kilometers by road or so to the Tanco plant, and Tanco has a cesium chemical plant there. So there would be a place if we were to work out a deal with Tanco to process cesium concentrate further.
And to some extent, I'm looking at this and do believe in the idea maybe of Say's law might apply to cesium, in that new supply could potentially create its own demand. It's historically the market's been what it's been because there's been limited availability. Could increased availability improve things?
Yeah, it's hard for me to say, but what I can say is that we have seen a lot of interest from the industry in what we're doing, and we're still at a very early stage. So we have kind of done a lot of research into the market, and what we see is the current suppliers are supply challenged with their current resources, particularly for the high grade cesium and polysite. And, so we think there's a shortage of that. The PMET resource is quite large, but that's somewhere in the future. So, we think in the next, 2 to 7 years, there's a real opportunity for any company that has, a source of cesium, the concentrate, to bring to market. So that's what we see, and there does anecdotally seem to be a lot of interest in developing new applications for the metal.
So on that front, I see there's potential for new solar technology to replace the silicon cell. Have you got any sort of sense of how far advanced that new tech is?
Yeah, there's a whole consortium in the U.S., the MAP consortium, which is industry, academia. They're working together to follow developments in commercializing. It's the perovskite solar panels, and then there's some intermediate uses where they use some cesium doping in a less revolutionary approach, in the tandem cell approach that will help performance. And we just saw our first outreach from a U.S. solar company looking for the potential for new sources of cesium. So again, it's hard to say when these things will be commercialized and brought in at scale. But I think having a potential large resource like PMET down the road might give somebody hope to pursue a technology like that, perhaps further. So from our point of view, that's all background information. Our focus in the near next few months is drill and come up with the initial resource, and then expand that search in the area. The area is completely underexplored. So we look at this the whole industry as an opportunity. And it's clearly developing and early stage, but we think there might be a lot of opportunity. And I'll just reiterate, when we started exploration, we in the lithium, when we found some cesium, and when the price of lithium went down dramatically, we assumed that every explorer who had a lithium deposit would be assaying the core for cesium, looking for cesium zones, and we thought there might be a flood of new cesium projects, and there hasn't been, and it just shows you how rare geologically cesium occurrences are. And so we're very lucky, very fortunate to have come across the Falcon West property, and so we think it's a great opportunity for us.
Right. And the price of cesium is high relative to lithium, yet the cost of extraction and processing seem to be a lot lower. Do you have any sense on the rough parameters for CapEx and OpEx to produce a saleable cesium product?
Yeah, I mean, again, the process is, it's like a quarry. You take out the rock. You use a crusher. You can use a mobile crusher. You can lease those or bring one in. Might be a few $1 million. And then you can use, ore sorting, which is very effective at separating both lithium and the polysite. So, that again, that technology is off the shelf. And I think, an ore sorter is again in the order of magnitude of $1 million or $2 million. So, you bring that equipment to site, and process the ore. The real advantage is you're not, it's a dry process, so you're not putting in tailings, and you're not building, a flotation plant. So that, on the permitting side will save you years, and certainly on the CapEx side, save you tens and tens of millions of dollars. So it's about as low CapEx intensity as you can get for a very high value product. So it's very unique in that, and also environmentally very friendly. No sulfide rocks in the deposit are associated with polysite. It's like quartz. Most people mistake it for quartz. So yeah, really, really kind of exceptional opportunity from the the CapEx and development side. Again, it's just hard to find. That's the problem. So.
And we focused on cesium, but Grid has other projects. Some of them look to have good potential. Can you just give us an overview of other projects that could generate shareholder value in the near term?
Yeah, so we've been active in base metals in southeast Manitoba, not too far away from Falcon West. We currently have a 7 million ton lithium deposit with a couple million tons coming right to surface. And one of the options there is to potentially toll mill that ore at the Tanko mine, where they do some lithium processing when the market's better. But the project that we're pretty excited about right now is our macro project, and that's a joint venture with Teck Resources. Teck's funding that, and we just started drilling on that as well. So we're looking for a nickel dominant deposit with polymetallic, so that would have copper and PGMs and cobalt associated with it. So we're kind of in the unique situation of a 25 million market cap company with two very high impact projects with the drill turning. So we'll know a lot by Christmas, and we have our fingers crossed.
Great, thanks. Howard?
Well, picking up on that last point, Robin, as you mentioned, yeah, you're a 25 million market cap now, woken up from the doldrums, I guess, earlier this year, but you're at the early end of the Lassonde curve with, 2 shots on goal, to use a Canadian hockey analogy. In cesium, I just again want to remind our viewers of the trajectory of power metals last year, when we brought it to the market's attention, when they were just drilling, and the stock was kind of flat for a little while, and then they made a major discovery, advanced the project, woke up the market to cesium. Cesium was one of the first kind of minor metals, ions, that have captured investors' imagination. But Matt has been writing quite a bit about a whole host of other minor metals, and we are in a critical minerals boom dynamic. I referenced critical minerals at warp speed in the latest kind of like lithium ion bull, and Rodney, Matt, and I have focused a lot on lithium over the years and other minor metals. So we are bringing to our viewers companies we think are worthy of your attention, and appreciate your introducing us to the story, Robin and Austin, and look forward to following Grid's path over the upcoming months and quarters.
Thank you very much, Howard. It's been a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, Howard, Rodney, Matt, really great to see you guys, and enjoy talking cesium.
All right.